Hello and welcome to this week's episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. If you're one of our new listeners, I want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll encourage you to hit the subscribe button. If you're one of our long-term listeners from all around the world, I want to thank you for your continued listenership and also encourage you to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a single episode. This week we're going to talk about what is chiropractic. I recently found myself at a place and a woman said to me, "Oh, I've heard of you chiropractors. I don't understand what you guys do." And then, what do you say? That's what we'll be talking about on today's show. So let's get started. Welcome to another episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I've been in practice for over 30 years, and I continue to work in a $1 million practice that I built, ran, and sold. I've taught, lectured, and coached our profession and helped so many chiropractors build the practice and the life of their dreams. And now, I want to help you do the same. So here's today's show. As I said in the introduction, a few days ago, I found myself at an open pickleball session, which is a fantastic sport. If you haven't played it, I think you should try it. It is a ton of fun, not highly competitive unless you really want it to be. But in between games, I got into a conversation with a woman who's about my age. She's a mature adult, and she said that she's a teacher. I said, "Oh, that's awesome. What do you teach?" She's a professor at a nursing school. This is a very well-educated person. And she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a chiropractor." And she looked at me with this blank look and said, "Yeah, I don't understand what you guys do. Like, what is chiropractic and what do you do?" And momentarily, I paused and I thought to myself, all of the things that chiropractic encompasses, from wellness care to helping the body work properly, to optimizing the nervous system, to helping the body heal the way that it's supposed to. All of these things are going through my mind. What do you tell this person who is a healthcare educator? She is training the nurses of tomorrow, and she has no idea what it is we do. So my first question was, "Well, have you ever been to a chiropractor?" And she said, "Yeah, I went once and it hurt, and so I really didn't even know what you do, and I never went back. It was just kind of this thing this doctor said, 'Oh, well, let me show you what we do.'" And I got the impression that he adjusted her, having not taken a history, having not done an examination, having not done a report of findings, no explanation. He just did this thing, almost like a party trick. Of course she had no idea, and I'm not surprised it hurt. Lord knows if he actually did a proper palpation, let alone any orthopedic or neurologic testing to know what the condition of the spine was and the exact alignment or misalignment of those subluxations, that he was just randomly shifting bones around. So, yeah, what are you doing when somebody wants to understand what chiropractic is? Because I imagine, and it's only a guess, but I imagine that she had some sort of similar conversation with that chiropractor, whoever it was, and he said, "Well, you want me to adjust you?" Is that what we're doing to the public? It is such a disservice. But let's go back to where we started. The person says, "So what is chiropractic?" And this is a highly educated person who's in a position to influence other minds in the world, as pretty much everybody is. What are you saying? Because what you say, what you do, is going to be their understanding of our entire profession. But before we delve in and answer the question, let's take it out of chiropractic for a minute. If a person asked you, "What does a dentist do?" because I've never seen one. If a person asked you, "What does a medical doctor do?" because I've never seen one, how would you explain that? Well, what does a dentist do? They make sure your teeth are healthy, and when you have a specific problem, they help you get your teeth to be healthy again. Well, okay, now you're diving into a much deeper part of the pool and talking about preventive dentistry versus filling a cavity versus restorative work putting a peg in and putting a prosthetic on top, or there are veneers, or there are crowns, or there are dentures. There's all different aspects of dentistry. Heck, for that matter, there's orthodontics, which is part of dentistry as well. So all of that is dentistry. But what does a dentist really do? Well, a dentist makes sure your teeth are healthy. And if I'm a dentist, so this is what I do within that world. You could have the same response regarding a medical doctor. What does a medical doctor do? Well, they make sure they stay healthy. Let's not get into the philosophical differences between medicine and chiropractic. There are many people in our profession who would say they poison you, they kill you, we're not going there. What does a medical doctor do at the basis? Well, they want you to be healthy. Their primary tools are drugs and surgery. And there are some medical doctors that focus on wellness and keeping you healthy so you don't need drugs and surgery. And then any medical doctor would go on to say what their subspecialty is. Orthopedics, neurology, nephrology, pulmonology, cardiology, dermatology, pediatrics. There's different subparts of health, taking the body apart one piece at a time, and that's what I specialize in, that one piece of the body. Okay. But we're none of those things. We're chiropractors. And as I said earlier on in this show, when someone says, "What is chiropractic? I don't understand what you guys do." What do you say? Because if you say, well, we treat people who've been involved in car accidents and get rid of their aches and pains and get them back to pre-accident status, that is a very, very narrow aspect of what a chiropractor does and can do, and does very, very well, by the way, but that's not the entire chiropractic world. What you're telling the person, again, potentially is their only understanding of our entire profession. So I'm going to encourage you to start with the broad view. Chiropractic works to optimize and normalize the neurobiomechanical systems of the body, or works to normalize the flow of the nerves, the movement of the joints, the alignment of the joints, and the muscles and ligaments and tendons that go with that so that you can move and interact in the world. Because as we move through the world and do all the things we do every day, the alignment gets disrupted and reduces the efficiency of the machine. As it gets reduced further and further, eventually pain starts. And chiropractic is fantastic at reducing and eliminating pain, biomechanically based pain. Absolutely works great. But is that the end of it? I don't think so. Chiropractic is fantastic at optimizing the body to work as close to 100% as possible. And certainly there are chiropractors who specialize in treating children. There are chiropractors who specialize in treating and working with athletes and sports injuries. There are chiropractors who specialize in very specific orthopedic and neurologic complaints. There are chiropractors who specialize in nutritional areas. So what is chiropractic? Chiropractic is really focused on optimizing the human body using all natural methods instead of drugs and surgery. That's it at its core. There are some chiropractors that talk about the vitalistic approach of chiropractic versus the mechanistic approach of chiropractic, and I don't think they're as far apart as some people like to say they are. Because the bottom line is we are getting the body to work normally the way that it's supposed to. Because living in this world and moving around and doing the things that we do, or not moving around the way that we often don't move around, creates issues so the body can't work the way that it's supposed to. And that's what chiropractors do. And once the person has had that broad overview of what chiropractors do, then to go into specifically your understanding, the focus of your practice, your philosophy, to use that word, really helps them to understand who you are. But to start with we help people who are involved in auto accidents, you've just taken all of chiropractic, and let's go back to the other examples we used. You've taken all of dentistry and focused it down on, we do orthodontia to move teeth around. Well, that's it. We've taken all of medicine and boiled it down to, well, I'm an allergist, so I help people have allergies. It's so much more. You do such a disservice to the profession and yourself when you tell the person about your little subspecialty within the entire profession. Because think about it the other way around. Start broad. Here is all of chiropractic to optimize the human body to work properly, because when there's a reduction in the movement of the joints, in the alignment of the joints, in the working of those nerves, the body works less than 100%, so it becomes less and less efficient, and therefore works less efficiently for the person. And my specialty is working with extremities. My specialty is working with athletes who've been injured on the field. My specialty is working with bodies that have gotten crumpled up in an auto accident and get them back to pre-accident status. You've just elevated yourself even further than saying, I specialize in taking care of people involved in auto accidents because they were injured in an accident. Well, okay, you just minimized yourself, and why would you possibly do that? You want people to understand how phenomenal this profession is, how amazing the human body is, and how we get to tune it, to optimize it back to the way that it should be. I love telling people that every major sports team in every major sport has at least one chiropractor on their team to optimize those athletes' performances. Living in Maryland on the East Coast of the United States, I love sharing with people that there are chiropractors who work with the race horses that race locally and so on the international tracks. Because when the horse is adjusted properly, it's not because they're in pain, and maybe they are, maybe they're not, and certainly no animal should be in pain, but to optimize their performance, because if the proper chiropractic adjustment can improve the alignment and the movement of the horse neurobiomechanically, and the horse runs a fraction of a second faster, the owner is up for potentially millions of dollars. That's why chiropractic is so important, to optimize the function and the performance that's being done. Even if that performance is something as simple as a person going to the grocery store, getting their groceries, putting them in the cart, putting them in the car, coming home, carrying them up the steps, and then putting them away on the top shelf in the pantry. Yeah, chiropractic helps people live their lives to the best and longest ability. I love when I get to quote the study that was done by Medicare years and years ago, showing that seniors that receive chiropractic care, chiropractic maintenance care, just once a month, even though newer research shows that people should be adjusted twice a month for maintenance to keep them optimized, because we're all on our cell phones and laptops and computers. The seniors who do that live longer, spend fewer days in the hospital, and take fewer drugs than the seniors that don't receive chiropractic maintenance care. Wouldn't that be a great thing to be sharing with the public at large? It's so important to have a big, broad understanding of our profession so you can really talk about it as the expert, because in that person's mind, you are the expert, and it's still possible in today's world, you're the only chiropractor they're ever going to meet. They'll see the ads on the side of a bus driving through town. They'll see the ads that pop up on TikTok and Facebook. They'll see the ads in all different places. But the advertisements don't really tell anything about the profession itself. This person has an opportunity to hear from an expert, what is it all about? And to tell them, that's what it is, and here's my specialty, is such a beautiful gift to them and for them. I'm sometimes amazed when I'm talking to even chiropractors that don't have a good understanding of what it is we do. Well, I shouldn't say a good understanding. I'll say a complete understanding of what we do. One of the things that I've told patients for years and years that is, if they're not feeling well, they feel like they're getting the sniffles, a cold, whatever, that they should come and get adjusted because a chiropractic adjustment can spike the immune system to help fight off the bug. And I was sharing this with a young chiropractor who had gone to NYCC, and the chiropractor said, yeah, I don't believe that. Like, they didn't tell us anything about that in school, so I don't know that that's really true. And I looked at the young chiropractor with disbelief, and I said, you don't believe that a chiropractic adjustment will help to spike the immune system? No, because there's no research to prove it. And I told the young man to go back and do a literature search, because that study was done at multiple chiropractic schools, one of which was NYCC. It was done back in the late 80s, early 90s, and what it showed when the study was done at that school was that a chiropractic adjustment with a certain amount of force actually causes a left shift of the white count to get more white blood cells out in circulation to help spike the immune system. It absolutely works. When the young man went and looked it up, he was like, well, why didn't they tell us that? I don't know why your school didn't tell you about the research on chiropractic that was done at your own institution. This happens far too often, and that's only one of the schools that this happens at. It's up to us as practitioners to make sure that we all know what's going on and to help each other, and more importantly, educate the public so they know what this thing called chiropractic is. So as we start to close out this episode, my question for you is, what are you going to say? The next time somebody says, oh, I heard about you chiropractors, what is it you do? Oh, we treat people who are involved in a car accident. Yes, that may be true, but no, that's not the place to start. Start broad. Start with a big explanation. Start with our educational background. And then pare it down into your specialty. This is what we specialize in our office, and we're the absolute expert in this little tiny subfield of this huge thing called chiropractic that's changing humanity and continues to grow. And I think at that point, you'll have done a huge service helping the chiropractic profession and helping the world at large. All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.